Adab, Sat Sri Akal, and hello. This is Darshan Kaur, your Parikrama host, here today with a very exciting podcast. My guest today is a celebrity actor of both Hollywood and Bollywood fame. While many amongst us may recognize him for his work in English Vinglish, Pareeksha, Nirvana in Bellbottom, amongst many others, not to mention his award winning movie Hotel Salvation and Maj Rati Ketaki, his movies and short films have also received accolades at various South Asian film festivals across US cities. But my non Indian friends will recognize him for his work in Oscar winning movie Life of Pi, India Sweets and Spices, and his stellar work in Star Trek Discovery as Lieutenant Aditya Sahil. I know many of you are going to be excited about that, aren't you? We have a lot of Trekkies, that are going to watch this podcast just for you. My guest today is no other than Adil Hussain. So Adil bhai, welcome to Parikrama Studio. I'm so excited. I didn't sleep the whole night. I was so excited that I'm going to be talking to you today. I was telling you, this is just an informal chat, just to get to know you better, so that people who are watching can get to know the person behind the persona, right? So I'm going to start with your background. You hail from northeastern part of India, Assam, I believe, right? And in the past decades, at least when I was living in India, the northeastern part wasn't as well represented in mainstream arenas, be it sports or movies. So how did you make it to Bollywood and Hollywood? Please tell us a little bit about your journey.
I have no idea. But thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you, Darshan. It's a pleasure to meet you again. And I still remember fondly Atlanta meetings and Atlanta time that I spent there. Every day I used to go to this cafe on the river, I forgot. How do
Chattahoochee.
you pronounce it?
Chattahoochee. Chattahoochee.
Chattahoochee. And
Mhm.
there's a lovely cafe there, and I used to always go there, especially on the off days, with my amazing co-actor Manisha Koirala, and also my wife and our kid son who were there as well. Um, yes, I come from a very unrepresented part of the country. It had been neglected since the beginning of independence, because of the geographical location, which is this entire region is connected through a corridor which is only 27 kilometers long, between Bangladesh and Bhutan. So people forgot about us. The governments, consecutive governments, they forgot about us. And something happens there, nobody cared much. And then slowly people became more aware, and there had been discussions, political awareness, and then the importance of inclusiveness came in, and it became slowly. Still, a lot of things are not reported. Not a lot of things are not in the media. My journey happened because of one reason. Hindi films we used to watch there. Like any other part of the country or across the globe where diaspora population is. They watch it. So I grew up watching Hindi films. From Dharmendra to Bachchan Saab and other amazing actors, Vinod Khanna ji and Shashi Kapoor, and Hema Malini, Rekha, Sri Devi as well. And so I grew up, and I had a knack for acting and imitation since I was quite young, actually, 6 years old. And I did my first play when I was 8 years old when I was in the kindergarten, and that continued every year. I would perform, and it felt so good. It felt so natural. It felt that this is it. This is what I like to do. I also was a very good student as well. Except for mathematics, rest of the subjects I was pretty good. Either I was the first or the second boy of the class, or yeah, the entire class, until I was in the 10th standard. But simultaneously, I continued acting on the stage and started doing stand-up comedy with few of my friends during the festival, functions and gatherings and celebration. So at the age of probably, I'm not sure about it, and it didn't happen overnight. It's a process which I'd gone through to realize that acting is what I want to do. But the problem was that come from a small little town where, as I said so many times before, our town used to get newspapers 3 days after they were published. So it's that remote. So, but very beautiful city, beautiful town, and culturally extremely alive and vibrant. We had theater groups, we had dance groups, music bands, art, paintings, and all that. It's a very culturally vibrant place. All over Assam. That's normal for Assamese to sing and dance. Because also the climate. The climate is so conducive, extremely gentle and pleasant and green and rain 8 months a year. So we come from a very gentle climate, and when people have time, because they don't have to really work hard to grow their food grains, it generally grows by itself, and you have to just till your land a little bit, and then you're there. Um, I dreamt to become to act and to act in films, and that was very strong. My parents, especially my father, was scared that hey, I mean, there is no guarantee that I will be able to earn money through acting, and Bombay is far away. Assam still has, and had quite a interesting film industry. Not necessarily they used to get paid a lot, but decent one. You can sort of survive. So I thought I'd start with Assamese film industry, and then I went to Guwahati, which is the capital city of Assam, and I started acting in films. It happened naturally because few of the playwrights who wrote also for films came to know of me, and they recommended my name, and I started acting in Assamese films, and then television came in, teleplays came in, telefilms. So I started doing that and realized that I need to learn acting because I stumbled upon this amazing film which changed my life called Papillon or Papillon, Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen. And I saw that film and I was completely bowled by it. I thought that those were not actors and those were people, real people picked up from the streets and were asked to act. But later I came to know that yes, one is Dustin Hoffman, and then I was like, my God, I would like to be an actor like these people, these actors, and not this over dramatic actors, which was the trend in Indian film industry then, including Shatrughan Sinha Saab, Rajkumar, and most of the actors, and including Bachchan Saab, they were larger than life. But I believed I started falling in love with sort of internalized acting, and so I needed to learn, and I came to NSD. Thankfully, I got my seat. Only 20 seats are there every year across all of India, which is like a population of then when I studied there almost a billion. So it was very hard to get in, but luckily I got in. And since then, it's a different story. Then I got a scholarship to study acting in England, came back. I still thought I didn't know much about acting, so I started training with few of my favorite teachers. They taught me generously without charging a single penny. And then I did theater, and I fell in love with theater. I didn't want to act in films anymore. After I came to NSD, I fell in love with theater, and I thought, not thought, I still think that theater is the place for any actor who wants to feast on acting because it gives you that opportunity to really go back again and again and again and re-investigate the role you formed, you build a world around your role that you're playing. It can create like nuanced world as if as vivid as real life. So that opportunity I got through doing theater with my teachers and my friends, and I fell in love with it. And because I already had experience acting in films in Assam, so I could compare the intensity of the experience that I had had while acting on the stage and or rehearsing, especially more than performing. Rehearsals were my most favorite things. But in 2010, one of my friends who came up with a script, with a proposal for me. His name is Hani Trihan, and through his assistant, who's a very famous casting director in India and who saw my play. So was very fond of me. He said, this guy should act in films. And I refused several times. But then he sent one of his assistant, who was my friend. He said, Adil, there is a film called, this is the film, this is the role called Ishkia, and I would like you to act in it. It's not much, just few days of work, and you just come, do it. Will Then I asked, how much money do you generally pay to new actors? And they, quoted a price, and I was like, wow. you know, my month's salary while I was teaching in NSD is less than a day's pay. In the film. So I was like, more than a day's, less than days pay. One day, per day, what I would get acting in that film, I used to get not even that much while I teach for a month. So I was like, hey, and I got married, so I thought, okay, let me earn some money. So I said yes to that film, and then that film became popular, and then one after the other happened, and Life of Pi happened as well. The same casting director who cast me in a TV series before I joined films, who just asked me to audition. I said, yeah, sure. So I auditioned, and then I got a call from Avi Kaufman, who was the casting director from New York, and she's a very famous casting director, Avi Kaufman. She called me in the middle of the night and said, Adil Angli wants to meet you. I was like, wow. So that's how it happened. That's in a nutshell. It's a long story, but I spoke a lot already.
No, you know what? I was listening to you and I was actually thinking you're living my life, the life I wanted to live. I think I did share with you when I met you when you were here in Atlanta for India Sweets and Spices, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I remember, so I wanted to, I love doing plays as a school plays, right? And I wanted
Right.
to join NSD, but my dad said the same thing. He wanted to make me financially independent, and he was like, "That's not going to fetch you any money." So I got into IT instead. But he did tell me, study, make your career, and then do it as a hobby. And which, believe it or not, we do have a vibrant theater community in Atlanta, and
Oh,
I've
wonderful.
done I have
Wonderful.
done several plays here, and like you mentioned, like it's actually the rehearsals that I get a kick out of more than
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
than well, the performance in itself. Like it's like, because it's instant gratification, right? When the audience applauds or when they like a particular thing. So I do, I was kind of like listening to you, and I'm like, he's living the life I wanted to live. So
I'm very lucky. Very lucky. I'm very lucky. It's a lot of grace and from the divine. I'm sure about it.
So, you just mentioned theater, and you said you actually preferred it to movies, and then you've studied at NSD and Drama Studio London. What are
Yeah.
some of your favorite plays? Like, have you performed in any of your favorites?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have much experience or exposure to the greatest playwrights or plays, written by great writers when I was in Assam. The plays that I came to know, or we were taught at the National School of Drama. Those were the plays which were written by greatest writers, including Shaw and Shakespeare and Goldoni and Ibsen and Kafka. And also Indian great writers like Kalidasa, Bhababhuti. Those are the classical plays, and Mohan Rakesh, amazing modern playwright, Vijay Tendulkar, and then so much more, so many more. Um, my one of my most favorite plays was it's a devised play taken from two plays of Ibsen Peer Gynt and Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faust. So one of our teachers, who is amazing teacher and a play theater director called Robin Das, who brought these two play together, and he set it in ancient India, and we the style of the performance, the physical style of the performance was derived from this martial art dance form called Chow. And so I play Mephistopheles, I play the devil in that.
Wow.
And it was just a mind-blowing experience in terms of how this particular dance form can be incorporated in the movement of the characters, you know. Then, of course, Othello, Shakespeare's Othello, then Sophocles' Oedipus, all these plays, amazingly written. Peter Schaffer's Equus, then Brecht, Threepenny Opera, and The Mother. You know, there's so many of them. You know, it's a long list of plays that I did, performed, and can't forget. Can't forget them.
Nice. Oh, lucky you. Again, I'm gonna say that I didn't
Um,
expect to feel I didn't expect to feel so jealous, Adilda, but I am feeling jealous. I'm like, oh my God, you're really literally living the life I wanted to live. So, but let's change tracks for a second. Another thing that I do know about you is your love of food and that you are a great cook. So how did that come about? And also, would you consider that as an alternate career?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know whether I'm a great cook. I mean, people say my food tastes good, you know, but I just had to cook to feed myself because I left my mom's house and I didn't know she made this amazing food, you know. Came out and I was like, oh my God, this food, whatever I'm having tastes so terrible. I have to cook myself, and I would go back home, ask my mom how do you do this, how do you do that, and that's how I got into it, and I started liking it. I started loving it. In fact, I can spend 8 to 9 hours in the kitchen, cooking when I want to. It's not like if I have to cook every day for somebody, I'm not sure. I did that in the COVID lockdown. Of course, I did it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. um, so I'm not sure if I can probably cook twice a week for a certain amount of people. The highest amount of people that I cooked for was 100, and I managed, and it turned out very good. I cooked in two restaurants 3 times, for like 8 course meal for around 30 to 40 people each time. And so I can cook, but probably I'm not sure if I would like to do that, you know, regularly. Like, yeah, maybe twice a week, I wouldn't mind to cook.
Yeah, that's where we're entirely different. I can barely cook to save my life. I mean, of course, I cook, here, but I don't even like my own food. Trust me.
I also
Um,
bake. I've started baking as well. So I'm enjoying that as well. Yeah.
nice. Are you planning to go on any of those MasterChef competitions or the Great
No,
Baking
no,
Show?
not
So-
at all.
oh,
I have
nice.
no.
Okay, so now I also, I follow you on Twitter, and so I've seen you keep
So do
posting.
I.
You do follow me back? Yes, you
Yes.
one of the very few celebrities that follow me, right? So, yeah, but so I keep seeing posts that you do, and it's about your love of music. So tell us a little bit more about that, and also, do you sing? Because I see you post about a lot of other groups, or even when you are in some part of India and there is like a musical some event or something, and you post about those a lot.
Yeah,
So I can tell from that you do love music. But tell us
I
tell
do.
us tell us about that. How did that come about?
It came from my dad, I think, because I grew up listening to music. He had this radio, big one. Those days, those huge radios, Murphy radios, I guess, and he used to listen to Hindustani classical uh, all the time, Tumris and Khyals and Dhrupad. Then also the fact that Assam, as I said before, that it is very most of the people are very musical. We have all these folk songs and traditional, even classical, specific classical song which has been classified recently. There are lots of folk songs, lots of different kinds of tribes that I grew up with. Next to our hometown, there are like 3 to 4 different kinds of tribes, and they have their own folk songs. And I don't understand the even language, not even a word I understand. It's so different. Like 12 kilometers from our house is Garo Hills, and I don't understand a single word they speak, which is crazy. Um, so I grew up with friends, those were musicians. I used to play guitar and percussion myself in a music band. Very bad, but I'm talking about myself, not the other friends. They are very very good. They still play well. I can't sing. I mean, I sang, but people generally think, especially my friends, that Adil, please, take it easy with your singing. So I've been discouraged from my childhood not to sing, and it came from there, and then got deeply into it when I came to National School of Drama. Our acting training, which had been enormously rigorous, is very rigorous, strenuous, and painful to the point that physically you feel pain because we're dealing with deconditioning our emotional reactive uh, habit behavior to find out a neutral space within ourselves. So during the training process, a lot of teachers made us hear not only like, okay, now you play music and listen. No, we would be taken into very quiet space within through an exercise, and then they would play music of different kinds of music from across the globe. African folk, or Japanese and South Korean folk, and Japanese classical music, Iranian classical music, and of course Indian. And then the masters, I'm talking about the Western masters, including Beethoven or Mozart or Bach and Eric Satie, and Indian classical masters, instrumental, vocals. So it's a range of music that I heard, and then I got into the habit of sort of searching for different kinds of music, which I think is pretty important for all of us to listen, because music is one of the purest forms of art, and there's a structure there, and it doesn't have words, especially those are not the music which doesn't have words in terms of the instrumental. Even vocal music like Drupad has hardly any word, or Thumri has hardly, but still it speaks to oneself. It speaks deeply, and it crosses the boundaries of all kinds. So I keep listening, and I keep trying to find different kinds of music from across the globe. And yeah, so I'm lucky that I have amazing musician friends or people, music lovers, who keep sending me different kinds of music from different parts of the world.
No, it's I've seen, like I was mentioning earlier, but you're right. Music is meditation, music is devotion, and I think that's another thing we have in common is I love. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to survive without music. It's like If I'm
Yeah.
happy, I need music. If I'm sad, I need music. And I can see that in you. So that's another parallel that I found when you were, and I got my love of music from my dad as well, like you
Mm.
mentioned. So same thing, listening. He used to listen to music on the radio, and I was a child, and I would just listen along with him, right?
Yep.
So that's the thing. So coming back to acting, as we mentioned in the beginning, I mean, and people already know you from your work in Hollywood. So what has your experience been like working in Hollywood movies? You've worked in Life of Pi, you mentioned, with Ang Lee, and you've done other roles as well in Star Trek Discovery. So, what has your experience been like? I think a lot of people would want to know about that. I mean, especially being an Indian coming from India, what was your experience like?
Remarkably different in so many ways, in terms of efficiency, proficiency, in terms of the rigor and the kind of strive that they have for excellence is commendable. It's just I'm jealous of them. People those who work here, and the writing especially, I think is top notch. No, I'm not talking about all films, but most of the films that I have seen, including the series which are coming out, quite a lot of series. Some are terrible, of course, but most of it that I watch is remarkable writing, and one can realize that how much time they spend on writing and how much effort they put in, and keep going back to the drawing board and come back again with a draft and again go back. So that I think is the fundamental, the foundation of any good, film or a series. We don't have that in India much. Mm, Very rarely you would see few films which would come up with amazing writing, but that's a drop in the ocean. But most of the films, quite often, most of the films that I have seen coming out from the West, also not only from Hollywood, but European films, even including Turkish series or Israeli series, Scandinavian films and Russian films, Japanese films. They're remarkable, and I'm one of the lucky guys amongst quite a few from India. Those who live in India and still get to work there. Those who haven't moved to LA or to the US or to the UK. Sometimes I feel that I should, because I'm so jealous of this American, like you were jealous. I'm very jealous of this amazing writing which happens, and I feel that okay, let me go because Kristen, my wife, and our son Kabir, they both are American citizens, and but they love India. So, but if I say okay, now I want to move to America at least to try out, for a couple of years, they would happily join me. But somehow, I don't know. I'm in love with this country, this particular part of the world. I would say it's not the political India. I'm talking about the ethos, the 10, 20,000-year-old culture. The wisdom that people have here. Um, like the most ancient art, performative art form called Kudiyattam is like almost 6,000 years old, and a book on acting had been written 5,000 years ago called Natya Shastra. So, we are from that land, and I somehow feel that we missed that opportunity. We haven't really tapped ourselves, the artistic community of India. Most of them, I'm not talking about the theater practitioner. They are quite rooted. They're still there, but they're competing, trying to be populistic, which I think they should not. But then they have to earn money, and it's a dichotomy of market pressure. And since everything had been commodified, it's a market society that we live in. It's very difficult to stay in one place. You have to keep swimming upstream. It's the upstream swim to keep your integrity, the love for your art, the honesty about your art, the sincerity, and all that, and yet to make a living. It's very difficult. So, in the in my experience in Ang Lee's Life of Pi and Star Trek after that, and also Mira Nair's film, and in the West, and some British films, some Norwegian films that I did. They are very organized to the T, and which I think is so important for anything. You could be deliberately chaotic. That is a different thing, but ours is not a deliberate attempt to be chaotic. Our thing is that it didn't happen. It's by default. Most of us we make mediocre films, and that's a pity. It's a tragedy for everybody, for the audience especially, because we're depriving them of watching something which is of greater meaning, which is of greater um, understanding of what human beings are made of, who we are, how we are, what could we be, what our aspirations are, where could we possibly go if we keep going towards our best choices. How can we make our best choices to be able to uplift the society's consciousness, understanding, awareness about humanity, about society, about nation state, about our relationship with individuals, our relationship with the universe at large. That should be probably, according to me, that's what I so far believe, that is the objective of art. And we are not fulfilling it. We have given in to the market pressure, and most of us are reselling ourselves. And that's sad. But I'm not saying that in the West we are not selling, they are not selling themselves. But there's an amazing attempt, at least, to keep the craft in its highest quality. The trouble with the West is they have the crop, they have every possible thing, they have the money, they have the world as a market, not only the US or the English speaking countries. It's like I say it like you have like the vultures. They're extremely skillful. Fly very high in the sky, and they can detect where the carcasses are. So with a skilled team of people making films, but most of the films and series are about the dark aspects of humanity, the lower depths of humanity. And that's my problem with most of the Western productions filled, all the OTT platforms are filled with crime and crime and crime and crime, all very wishy-washy romantic dramas. I think that could change there. That probably we could make something so that we can. I'm not talking about wishy-washy films. I'm not talking about deeper films, and make it interesting. Like Life of Pi, for example. How deep is that? And yet it's so interesting. But to make a film like that, you have to really work harder than they work.
No, I mean, you spoke like a purist, like somebody who really loves his craft. I mean, I can tell with the passion that you feel for your craft, for the work that you do. And I think this is truly a blessing to actually work on something that you really enjoy doing, that is your passion. But just in case, I know you talked about India and how you enjoy being in that part of the world. But just in case you decide to experiment with coming to the US, I will tell you, more movies are being made in Atlanta than in Hollywood now. So, so you're welcome to come to Atlanta anytime. So just
Okay.
keep that in mind. And
Okay.
speaking of Atlanta, like we mentioned that you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that you were here for the during the shooting of the movie India Sweets and Spices, and that's where I met you on the
Yeah.
set. And actually, I was telling you earlier too, but a lot of my friends who were in the movie, they still remember you. They talk
Oh.
about you because you left such an impression on them. And uh, you know uh, although even in India Sweets and Spices and in some of the other movies, you have played like a negative character, right? Where
Right, right, right. Yeah.
abusive husband. I don't know, so um, English, right? And also I guess
Yes.
India Sweets and Spices, right? So, but then you have in person, like because I have met you, I have seen you perform. I was a part of the, I was there, and yet I think you remember me because you talked to me. You talked to everybody. Everybody remembers you because you interacted. You were not, uh, you know, um, you were not a celebrity. You were one of us, right? So. How do you you, and actually I was going to say this, I did want to say this, you have often been referred to as the gentleman actor. How do you stay so grounded?
I don't think anybody who practices art and wants to go deeper into it um, would do otherwise, you know, because art is my vehicle, which through which I'm looking for greater meaning of life myself in my life. And you cannot, at least as of now, that I can tell you that I cannot find greater meaning unless I find meaning in my interactions with the other. The other could be a human being or a tree or the sunset or a flower or a bird or anything which is so-called outside of me. And if I practice the otherness, that means if I'm shutting myself off from the world, then I'm doing a disservice to myself, and I'm very selfish. I cannot do that because I cannot lose or let go of this opportunity to. I'll tell you. I think a good example would be the story of the creation. In Rig Veda, it says that in the beginning there was nothing, and from nothing came the non-being, and from the non-being came the being, and the being was lonely and bored. It wanted to grapple with something, but it did not want to create something because creation will be subordinate to the creator. It wanted an equal partner to play. Why? Because only with equal you learn the most. Your boundaries are broken when there is an equal in front of you to play. And our embedded tendency is to break our boundaries to become larger, to become more of oneself, not the arrogant more, but the largeness of yourself. And so it didn't want to create something because creation will become the subordinate. So if I create, you will be like, oh my God, he's my creator. It didn't want to create. So what did it do? It sacrificed itself into the multiplicity of universe to experience itself. And I believe in this story that we are part of everything, you know, all of us. And unless there is the other, I have no experience whatsoever. If I am cooped up in a small little box for next 50 years and I only experience darkness, but I have been given this eyes and perception and amazing, environment around me, which we are, by the way, destroying quite often, every one of us. And how can I let go of the opportunity to meet somebody and not really consider that person equal, no matter what and she or he is, which part of the world or gender or caste or creed or what social class that person comes from. And that's what I have learned from my teachers. And selfishly, I've learned that to retain myself as a practice to make sure that I can go deeper into my role. While I play a role, I must be completely vulnerable and respectful to the other. And that's a normal thing for a person who practices acting or any other form of art to do. That's what I've learned. I hope I have replied your,
No,
have
you
answered
did,
your question.
and so beautifully, because even at the beginning of your podcast, when I was telling you I'm so excited because you're a celebrity, and you said I'm not, I'm only a human being who loves to act, and I still,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Absolutely.
and but it's I have not met a celebrity like you before. I mean, but I have met
I'm
quite a
not.
few. I've met quite
Again,
a
calling me a
few.
celebrity. I like the word celebration. There's nothing wrong to celebrate something. But if someone thinks he is or she is a celebrity, I would have huge problem with it. Like if no, I'm not. I'm just a person, and so are you. And it's the end of the story. I don't like the to be addressed as someone's celebrity. I'm not. No, I like to celebrate everything. Celebrate your presence. Celebrate whatever Monday, Tuesday, or the meal that I'm about to eat, or the breath that I'm about to take.
Awesome. You're an amazing human being. Okay, I won't say celebrity, but you're an amazing human being, and we love to celebrate you.
Person. Yes.
And okay, so we are not on any coffee with somebody or whatever, but I like to call this lassi with darshan. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, right? Just because you are an amazing human being. We love to celebrate. So okay, here goes. What's your favorite cuisine?
Assamese.
Assamese. I've never tasted it. So maybe next time I'm in India, and I come from Delhi. So,
No, you should go and visit Rashmi Bora's house.
oh,
She's
Rashmi.
an Ass-
Okay.
she's an Assamese, and she'll feed you Assamese food there.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
but I was actually inviting myself over to your place when I'm next in Delhi. And
Oh, that you're most welcome. You're most welcome. But till then, I mean, if you are desperate or if you really wish to eat some Assamese food, she'll cook you a good meal.
nice. I'll definitely check that out. Okay, what's the favorite role that you have played?
Oh dear. I guess I would say Rajiv from Mukti Bhawan.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I saw through that movie. I have seen it, and yeah, I would agree. Although I like your Saving Chintu as well. Saving Chintu. It's a short film. Yeah,
Sure, sure.
I think was a part of a film festival, and I watched it as a part of a film festival. I really loved that one as well. I have seen Lorne, the Flaneur, and other, I mean, a lot of your movies, but I think Saving Chintu and Mukti Bhawan are like my favorite as well. Okay, Hollywood or Bollywood? I think you've already answered that question, but
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's not a question of Bollywood or Hollywood. I think it's just cinema. Wherever good cinema, I'm up for it.
theater or movies?
Oh, theater any day.
I concur with that. Chai or coffee?
Absolutely.
Or maybe lassi?
Um, I love coffee, but I can only have like one cup of coffee in 3 days. But I love it. But I'm to the point that I collect beans from different parts of the world. I crush it myself, and then I'm now thinking of even roasting it myself. And yeah, but I don't drink much coffee. Chai is a sort of go-to thing almost. Yeah, every day. I don't know how many cups, but quite often.
Well,
But coffee, I love
Assam
coffee.
is famous for its chai as well, Assamese tea.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
I
absolutely.
thought it might be chai, but I was surprised when you said
Yeah,
coffee. So,
yeah.
favorite genre of movies? What kind of movies?
Ah, My God, all kinds I like. But probably my most favorite would be drama. Yeah, good
Nice.
drama, very good drama. Yeah.
Good choice. Favorite book?
Mm. Oh dear. My most favorite book would be The Gospel of Ramakrishna. I
Yeah,
read it like a thriller, 6 volumes. If you haven't read it, please do.
I haven't. I think mine is Autobiography of a Yogi. But
Yes, yes, I
I
know.
will I will read the
I read
rest.
that. It's amazing, amazing book. Uh, Ramakrishna is, yeah, it's subjective, so I'm not comparing anything. I mean, it cannot be done. He was an illiterate person. He didn't know how to write or read, and his analogies and his similes, his metaphors are so simple that it disturbed the hell out of me. That was the first book through which I was introduced to Indian spirituality.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really intrigued. I do have to check it out now because I love reading spiritual books. Um,
Yes, please do.
so, favorite kind of music. I think you already answered it, but I'm going to ask again. Favorite kind of music.
I would say Drupad, the Indian classical. Yeah.
Favorite singer.
Um, that's very difficult one. So many of them. Favorite singers. Um, Probably my most favorite would be in Indian classical. Nowadays, I had been not nowadays since last quite a few years. I've been listening to Pandit Uday Bhavalkarji, a Drupad singer, and it so happened that a week and a half ago, I was invited to a place in Bangalore, Nitagram, and he was there, and we spent 2 whole days together listening to him. He's preparing for a concert directed by my friend. It's a performance concert. It's not only singing, but it's also singing. But so I was very lucky. And Western, yeah, Maria Callas, and yeah,
So it's a tough choice. I can
it
understand
is
that.
difficult. It's very
Yes.
difficult. Yeah.
Favorite actor.
Well, I will name two people, which probably nobody has heard of. One is Thomas Richard, and the other one is Mario Biagini. One is an Afro-Caribbean actor, um, a theater actor, and Mario Biagini is Italian actor who lives in Pontedera in Italy. Yeah, they are just out of the world.
Favorite
Yeah.
actress.
Ah, excuse me. Um, God, you're putting me in tough position. This wasn't agreed
You
upon.
can say Darshan and get away with it. I'm just kidding. You haven't seen any of my performance.
Uh, my favorite actor. I'd never think like that. One of my favorites would be, I guess, Suchitra Sen
Mhm.
from West Bengal. She was amazing. Madhavi Mukherjee, a lot of films she has done of Satyajit Ray. Yeah, they're amazing, amazing actors. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen Andi, which is Suchitra Sen ji's movie. Yes, and so my favorite actress is actually Sri Devi ji, and uh, I watched Chandani and I was a child, and I was so enamored. that my favorite color before that used to be pink, right? And then it changed to white. So white's been my favorite color since then. Most of my, I would say 75 to 80% of my wardrobe is white. I was going to wear white today also, but my previous podcast was, I also wore white, and the one before that. So I kind of said, no, I'm going to wear something colorful today. So I have to ask you this, since you were with Devi ji in English, Vinglish, what was the experience of working with her?
I've spoken about it several times in so many different interviews. Uh, I can't, it's unforgettable, first of all. Each and every day in her presence, I was very new to films in a way because I did films in Assam, but I haven't done it for like 20, 25 years. And I came back to in front of the camera, and that was my third film, I guess, and it was hers 300 some film, you know. So, but every day when she comes in and with her grace, with her quiet self, and some vibration of positivity, of it was like you can feel the palpable presence, you know, you can feel her. Oh, even if you haven't seen her, but you know that she is just arrived and she's coming in. Um, and she's the sensitivity of highest nature. She can probably absorb, and that could be also very to her disadvantage that she can feel, so many things around her. Super sensitivity, I would say. That's what my reading about her. So every day it was an amazing experience with her, and extremely respectful. She had been towards everybody, toward me as well. Yeah, I wish that I could have done one more film with her. And we were almost doing English too, but then, you know,
God had other
didn't happen.
plans. Yeah. Yeah, no, I just wish I could have just met her once. Like so I was actually in Mumbai the day it happened, and we passed by her bungalow that same day. I was
Um,
actually there for work, for my office trip, and but I just wish I could have met her once. But anyway, we're coming up at time, so this is the last question I'm going to ask you. Any projects that you're working on that you can share about? I know that a lot of times you're contractually bound and you cannot talk about
yeah,
the project, but what can we look forward to seeing you in? What are some of the current projects that you can share about?
yeah, quite a lot actually. Since 2020 August, I've done 11 projects,
Oh, nice.
and the first one got released, which was Bellbottom, with Akshay Kumar, and the next one, which is called Footprints on Water, which is a drama set in Birmingham, a father-daughter story. Very, very intense. They always cast me in these intense roles. That one, and then there is another film called the Postman. It's a story of a postman who tries to save his post office from shutting down uh, in a hill station in India. I play the postman there, and it's a beautiful and quite heartwarming story. And then I did a film called the Sergeant, which is set in London, with Randeep Huda and I, which is a sort of a thriller. Then there is this film called Max, Min, and Miyazaki, which is a story of three generations. I'm in the middle, my father and my son. A brilliant story about Indian contemporary situation, personal relationship, and the society and politics a little bit. But beautiful, beautiful, which is going to be soon premiered in one of the famous festivals. There's another beautiful film called The Storyteller. It's written by Satyajit Ray, the story, and directed by Anant Mahadevan. Then what else did I do? Three series. One is Delhi Crime, which is coming out probably this month.
Mhm.
Another one, which is a brilliant story set in Kolkata. It's on Netflix. I've never done such a role before, so it's very funny and interesting. I can't even tell you the name. Another series, which is on Z5. It's a spy historical drama set in India in 1960s, early 60s. There's another film, so many films. Another film I did called A Knock on the Door. It's again a drama. An Assamese film I did. Yeah, so this, I don't know how many. I've said 10. I don't know, it's already 10, I guess.
No, that's awesome, and I'm that we here in Atlanta will be cheering you on,
Yeah,
and look
thank
forward to
you.
watching
Thank you.
each and every one of those movies.
Thank
But
you.
thank you so much, Adilda. Thank you so much
Pleasure.
for taking out the
Pleasure.
time to come talk with us. And I'm sure that our viewers out there got to know you a little bit more, got to know the person behind the persona, which was the purpose of this podcast in the first place. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
for your
Pleasure.
time. And before we go, I did want to say Happy Raksha Bandhan. I call you Dada, so
Ah,
I
thank you. Happy
always
Raksha
wish
Bandhan
you
to
Raksha
you.
Bandhan on Twitter, but because we are talking
Yes,
in
it is.
person, happy Raksha Bandhan to you, and
Thank you. Thank you,
send
Darshan.
lots of love and blessings from me to you.
To you too.
Thank you, and I hope that whenever I'm in Delhi, that I'll reach out, and I hope that we can get to meet
Please, please, please.
soon.
You
So
have my number.
and yes, I have to taste the food, and then I have to hear you sing, and I'll be the judge of whether you're a good singer or not. So,
Okay.
so great. I hope that all of you enjoyed this tete-a-tete just as much as I did. But we have come at the end of time for this podcast, and I hope that you will comment and provide your feedback and show us some love when you watch this amazing interview with an amazing human being, Adil Hussain. This is Darshan Kaur
Thanks.
signing off for today. We'll be back again soon with yet another podcast. Till then, take care. Happy Raksha Bandhan to